So, welcome to another episode of The Marketer's Edge, a series designed to share senior level marketing perspective about marketer challenges, opportunities, and agency relationships. Our goal is to help marketers and agencies learn from other marketers across different industries. Today, we're talking with Jessica Normington, the Director of Development and Communications for the Blind Industries and Services of Maryland, based in Baltimore. Jessica, thanks for joining us today. How have you been?
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
That's great. That's great. Yep. So I appreciate it. I've got a small handful of questions for you, but before we do that, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about the Blind Industries and Services of Maryland and what you do for the organization. I'd like our audience just to know, what kind
Sure.
of company it is and what it is you do for them.
Sure. Well, just to give you a little background information on the Blind Industries and Services of Maryland, which we kind of refer to as BISM
Okay.
because it is a little bit of a mouthful. Um, but we've been around since 1908. We were established by the Maryland General Assembly to train blind and low vision individuals and provide them vocational opportunities. Fast forward to I guess, mid 30s, we had the Wagner-O'Day Act come into effect, and that provided more opportunities for blind individuals, but it required the federal government to purchase products made by blind individuals. So Blind Industries has been integral into that aspect. So our mission is twofold. We employ blind and low individuals to manufacture products, but we also train blind and low vision individuals to live independent lives like you and I do every day.
Okay. Okay. That's great. That's great. So, I'm curious how much of what you do sits on either side of that fence.
So we don't necessarily employ a lot of our trainees, our students.
Okay.
So yes, we do have some of our students that come through our program and do stay here and work, but that's not our goal, our end goal. Our end goal is for them to help them find a career, but also to really help them that they can live within the community and go about their lives.
That's great. That's great. Yeah. So I believe this is your first job whose focus is on helping people with disabilities. I'm
Yes.
curious, what attracted you to this firm, this industry?
So I want to say it was about 4 or 5 years ago. I had the opportunity to visit BISM and get a tour of the facility. And I was kind of blown away by it. And it just kept in the back of my head and call it, I wanted to shift my focus a little bit in the nonprofit world while I was looking for a job. And this came about, and I remembered their mission and what they did. And it really spoke to me.
That's great.
I've always been in the nonprofit world where it was mission driven, but this is truly mission driven. And, I'm
What do
finally
you,
at a spot where I can make a difference.
That's great. What do you find is most fulfilling for you personally in working with BISM?
Our halls are busy with students on a daily basis.
Okay.
And in my year, I'm watching, I started about 2 weeks after one student, and he started 2 weeks before I did, and he's graduating next week. And I saw the progress he has made from, start to finish. And, he's actually now in Nashville right now on a trip by himself. That's one of the benchmarks that a blind individual has to do through our program.
Wow.
And it's just really great to see. And he's a 30-something individual who became blind late in life. And so he's taken charge, and we're building his confidence back up. And it's just so empowering to see that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. That's what a great story that is, and I'm sure there are just so many more like that. It's
Oh,
just
yeah.
so.
But he's just one example.
Yeah. Yeah. That's really really cool. So you've been with the group for about a year now. I'm curious, what do you see as some of the more significant challenges facing BISM, and how do you anticipate trying to address those?
Well, like probably a lot of businesses around, COVID has definitely not helped our manufacturing side.
Okay.
And so with, if I'm looking at that side, the supply chain, the getting textiles, we do a lot of manufacturing of military uniforms. So getting the materials to sew and put together those uniforms has been a challenge.
Okay.
And our operations is somewhat antiquated because it has to be accessible. So at the same time, we're trying to, be forward thinking. How can we change our model a little bit, but still stay true to our mission and employ blind individuals? Because all of our machines are analog, because we can make it accessible, whereas the digital forefront is not necessarily as accessible.
Got it. Got it. Are there certain categories of products that you can operate in effectively with?
Yeah, so we manufacture paper products, janitorial supplies, military uniforms, pillows. That's just to name a few.
Okay. Okay. And is part of your job finding companies that would be interested, or convincing them to be interested in working with a group like BISM?
It's part of the conversation.
Okay.
My role is to raise money for the organization so the
Okay.
independence and rehabilitation side division can continue doing what it's doing and expand its reach. We've been limited in what we can do based on budget and what funding we've gotten in the past.
Got it. Got it. All right. So I noticed you were leading the Pikesville Chamber of Commerce as their executive director before you joined BISM. I'm just curious, how has that experience helped you in this job or prepare for this new job?
So as you know, I came in here, as you said, and I've mentioned that, not knowing the world of blindness or
Yeah.
disability. But what I brought to the table was my networking, my network. And so I'm using that to my advantage. I was close to our, local delegates and our county council person. So using my connections to help broaden our reach. We're starting small. BISM hasn't been very community oriented. And so I'm changing that. I'm trying to get people to know about us. Because I'm sure everyone around us has been affected by some type of visual impairment. And so we could be a known commodity for people to call.
Got it. Got it. And I noticed, just in looking at your website, it looks like there are a lot of services that you offer for blind and low vision individuals. Just curious, what are some of the more popular services that you offer? I know you talked about, training to help individuals obtain sort of their independence. Are there specific things that you tend to do more often? Yeah.
It's a tricky question, because it's not one size fits all here at BISM.
Yeah. Okay.
Our services are very diverse, as you mentioned, just like our students are. And so I think what makes our program so attractive is that that students that come here, we're teaching them at their level and where they're at. So it's individual learning. It's actually called structured discovery. So like when you and I are sitting in a classroom, you have a teacher in front of you teaching you. Here you have an instructor, but they're asking you the questions and you're leading the discovery of whether it's cane travel or in the kitchen learning how to make a biscuit.
Okay.
So, in that way. But if I was to pick a program, it would probably be our middle school or high school program.
Okay.
They come to us about once a month, and we teach them what is available for them beyond the high school, so college or employment.
Got it. Okay.
And we do seminars around different topics like budgeting, financing, house, living independently, applying to colleges.
Do most of the individuals that come to BISM know specifically what they want to accomplish, or do you have to sort of coach them through the process and understanding sort of their life?
A lot of them I
Yeah.
think a lot of them come here don't think they can go do anything.
Okay.
And
Interesting.
so we're put in a situation that we're empowering them to say, look, you can do it. And
Yeah.
these are the tools you can use to accomplish these goals. You want to be a nurse? Let's figure out how you can do that.
Right. Okay. Do most of the people that come to BISM come on their own doing, or are they often sort of encouraged by a friend or
So
family member?
typically someone will come through the Department of Rehabilitation Services,
Okay.
or they're being referred to from the Maryland School of the Blind. Very rarely they're coming through our doors, not through another provider.
Okay. Got it. Got it.
Our services are free for Marylanders,
Okay.
so
Great.
typically they're going through the state because they have a social worker or someone working with them.
Got it. So I'm curious. My daughter works in speech pathology with primarily pediatric patients, and I know she went and got her master's degree and all that good stuff. Do people that work with the blind and low vision individuals have to have specific training or degrees in order to operate?
So all our instructors are blind themselves.
Oh,
They have
wow.
been through similar or our program, and then depending what they teach, whether it's cane travel, braille, independent living, which is learning your way around a grocery store or a kitchen, they all have to be certified in that topic.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yes.
That you're set up that way. And yeah, I was going to ask you. I mean, is it hard to find candidates that want to work with an organization like yours, or is it a relatively easy thing?
I think just like any other organization right now, it's hard to find talented
Okay.
candidates.
Okay.
But once we get them in our doors and show them what they're doing and what good work we're doing, that changes
Yeah.
the narrative, because a lot of people now are looking for mission driven, fulfilling opportunities,
Right.
and we provide that.
Yeah. Boy, I tell you, it's got to be so satisfying for somebody who's blind or low vision that's training somebody who's blind or low vision to see them accomplish, great things. I mean, it's just
Hmm.
got to be so unbelievably gratifying.
Yeah, I will say one of the really cool things about when I started, I had to go through an immersion program with some of the students. And so for first 3 weeks of my job here, I was in what we call sleep shades. All our students are on these sleep shades that they put
Yeah.
across their eyes.
Yeah, I saw that on
And
your website.
and I
Interesting.
I was immersed in the classroom with and learned how to travel with a cane.
Wow.
I made scrambled eggs and biscuits in the kitchen.
Oh,
Learned to recognize the braille letters, and I could read like cat, dog, see.
wow.
So I got to learn.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's awesome.
basic, but firsthand a little bit how what they're going through to
Yeah,
kind of relate, and it helps in my role a
I'm
lot.
sure. I'm sure. Yeah. So I'm curious, does the marketing of a business like yours differ from other jobs you have? Is a target customer different? Are there now, multiple constituents you're trying to appeal to? Can you talk a little bit about that relative to
The
other types of
approach is the
business?
same,
Okay.
but yeah, we have different. Because we're quasi social enterprise, we have customers, we have vendors, and so we have alumni. So we do have different channels that we're reaching out to.
Okay. Okay.
So we're being a little creative, but the method's the same way. It's
Yeah.
just the message shifts just a little bit for the audience.
Yep. Yep. So you've got folks you're reaching out to maybe use your services, and then you also have folks you're reaching out to seek donations, I assume.
Hmm.
I'm just curious for our audience. I'm sure we've got people in the audience that are involved in trying to drive donations into their organization. What have you found to be some of the more effective tools and or strategies that you've used to accomplish that end?
So for the 10 or so months that or a year I've been here, we've been relying a lot on email and social media.
Okay.
We have to remember that our constituency might be blind. So sending a solicitation letter, for example, won't necessarily get us that far if it's not in Braille.
Right. Okay.
So we're relying on accessible, newsletters, e-newsletters, and social media. And it seems to be working.
Okay. That's great. That's great. And I would imagine, donations or seeking donations, are they a pretty consuming part of what you do every day?
It's pretty much what I do every day.
Okay. Yeah. Do you have staff that helps support part of that?
I have a communications manager who helps with the social media and the PR side.
Okay.
But otherwise, it's just me.
Okay. What kind of what social media platforms are you finding are most effective for you? And
Well, right now we're on Facebook and LinkedIn.
Okay.
We hope in the next month or two we'll be on Instagram.
Okay.
But for now, those two seem to be working for us.
That's great. That's great. And I assume either in past lives or current lives, have you worked with marketing agencies or?
Yes.
Okay. And,
Yes.
and I'm curious, what more often would you turn to an outside agency to help you do?
I think it's a double-edged sword. Sometimes using an outside agency because
Sure.
they're not immersed in your business 100%, but at the same time they bring in expertise that you may not have. For example, right now BISM is going through somewhat of a rebranding and trying to consolidate our messaging, and so we've hired an outside agency to help us kind of lead that charge because we're all invested in what we do, but they have an outside perspective and can bring that perspective to the table.
So some rebranding work for business.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
In terms of what, I'm just curious, like what about what you're seeing or the organization is seeing in the way they're positioned now or the way they're branding now is causing you to want to look outside and make that change?
Because of our different divisions,
Okay.
they've all pretty much independently worked on their own.
Got it. Makes sense.
And so it's very confusing to the consumer, to the someone in our training center. So we're trying to put it all on one umbrella.
Okay.
And create one message, one brand for
Yep.
all of us.
That's
We have varying locations too, so we're not just in Baltimore. So we want to kind of spread that brand across our channels so people understand what we do.
Okay. Well, what do you think not having done that is sort of affecting most? Is it in more of an internal sort of unification of employees, or is it more external and constituents not really understanding all the parts and pieces and maybe thus limiting donations? Or what do you think not having done that has affected most?
A little bit of both, but most the outside community. I think when people hear Blind Industries and Service of Maryland, they either confuse us with the Maryland School of the Blind
Okay.
or the National Federation of the Blind.
Got it.
And so they think we're one or the other, but we're not. So we're trying to solve the misconception of who we are.
Okay. That's great. Yep. Sounds like it's a good move.
Yeah, I'm excited to see where it takes us.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. So any advice you'd give to a marketer, whether playing in your space or not, that's thinking about bringing an agency on board for the first time?
I think you have to do your due diligence. Don't always rely on one agency. They're interviewing you as much as you're interviewing them.
Sure.
Pretty much. When I was looking at agencies, I wanted someone with nonprofit experience and understanding who we are because we're so complicated is really important.
Okay.
And so But I also, it's important to have buy-in from your senior leadership, from your president or CEO, executive director. So it's a little bit of both.
Okay, okay, that's great. And if my last question is if an agency was trying to knock down your door to say win this branding assignment, you know, what advice would you give to that agency trying to engage with you?
To ask lots of questions,
Okay,
be engaging with the organization so you can they can understand what you're getting after. Because a lot of times I've found these marketing agents come to you and they just want to sell your service. They don't care who you are, what you do. They just want to
right,
sell you their service.
right.
And I look at it a little deeper than that.
Okay, okay, that's great. That's great. Well, listen, I really appreciate you making the time today.
Thank you.
Just an awesome organization that you're working with, and the things that you and everybody else, it sounds like, within BISM is doing. Just really fantastic. I mean, hats off, and
Thank you.
I love the fact that blind and low vision individuals have become trainers and are helping others. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
that's just such a cool concept. And yeah, so wish you all the best. And
Thank you.
yeah, thanks again for making the time today.
Yeah, of course. My pleasure. This has
All
been
right,
fun.
great. Thanks, Jessica.